Hey, video diary. So here's my little studio. Let me show you around. I think we've done this. I made this to hold my computer. I don't know if you can see the sunset out here, but what I do is I look against this white board and I can look at the sun because it bounces off the window. But right now it's just the sunset. I'll show you these things. I've been just basically working out 5 times a day in my, I want to say, like, grief. I think of Forrest. I try to not have it be about anger when I do it, but about flexibility. And this is my space. I quit my gym. I mean, I take jujitsu now, and it's plenty. So I realize I've been having an identity crisis. It sounds so obvious, but I used to be somebody. And now I'm somebody else. And it's directly the result of this grief. Whatever grief is. Grief is what you feel when your kid dies from heroin overdose or anything. But I'm talking very specifically about heroin overdose because of its particular unjust let's hang out in the sun. So my identity used to be taking care of Forrest. I don't know if that sounds right. It was being in a partnership is the way I would describe it. Because we had a couple of bumps along the way. He got a speeding ticket. He got caught selling some marijuana. It's about 2.5 years ago. There's more to that story, but that's really when Forrest turned his life around. It was right then I challenged him to stop talking about what he wanted and do it. And he did. And actually, because of that incident, he took they he was like a first offender. He did 7 months in a drug outpatient type of program that had him working in the parks. This was 7 months of his time, and he had to take rather rigorous classes, and we discussed those. That he was like kind of dealing with his addiction. Those were his words. I guess I knew that he never had dealt with his addiction. He didn't want to go to anything. He was doing well. It sounds so stupid now on my part. But he was doing, he had 4 amateur fights. He had long training camps and good grades. He had A's. That's hard. He didn't have all A's. He had A's and B's. And maybe some lower that made him realize that he could always have A's. In the last 2 years, it was just, I'm not going to say he was overachieving. He was just finding the value of what he was doing. He was very proud of his writing. He sent me his essays. He sent his essays around to other people. He could have become a really great writer. He had something very deep that he wanted to share, that he could have shared. He always spoke of his love for Alan Watts and Salman Rushdie. It's beautiful color back here. I don't know if the camera gets it, but it's just gorgeous. Yeah, so I sort of hide away in my little world and talk to almost nobody. Do these exercises, practice the guitar. Where's my guitar? But my life isn't the same. Like the organization, the drive towards something. I started working out a lot after Forrest killed himself because I just felt that I had to take over. Like I couldn't just let him die. It's like a tribal thing. So I don't know, in a way what's going to happen to me or my life as a result of this, but it's just not the same. I used to be really motivated to get these gigs on and work out the tunes. And I feel kind of a little weird that my focus was on that during the 2 months that I know Forrest was relapsing. I was in communication with him over the phone, but just mentally, psychically, I was in my own space, right here, actually. And I worked like for 8 weeks on this one show that Forrest attended. And it's so weird. That was the concert, or it was just a gig, but it was you know, a gig I was putting together something for that was special. And it was what I called my graduation gig. Like I had shedded out these years, and I'd done, you know, a bunch of gigs over the last year and a half, but this was the one where I felt I could say, okay, you don't have to shed anymore. And I spent sometimes as much as 6 hours playing every day, sometimes even more. But it's at a certain point I realized that the sweet spot is around 4 or 5 hours, and then you should stop. And so I was doing that, and and just treating it seriously. Forrest and I talked about the show, the playing, how I played, and I learned a lot from my teachers, and it was just all put together. It was supposed to be the beginning. That was one of the nights, actually. Forrest was in his jazz workshop. Anyway, my identity crisis. My identity was my son. If someone asked me what my main job is in my life for over the last 3 years, and it would have been more or less exclusively my son. Like, I take care of my daughter, I love my daughter, but she's 4 years older. And it was Forrest that I was most concerned about, and also investing in, and excited about. I wasn't just afraid he was going to do something like this. In fact, I should have been. So I feel pretty terrible about all of this. And he's gone, and I can't say anything to him. I can't ask him anything. I can't help him. It's like I was fired, and it's worse. It's so final. I'm so aware that we only have our bodies. Don't kid yourself. Don't waste the one life you have. Even if there's another. Even if there is like reincarnation or something totally awesome. Just don't waste your life.